Maybe you've had a job just like I did that really defined you, or you let it define you, or you let other people define you. So there's a problem with that, and I think we need to get to the bottom of it during this time together. And I'm so glad that you're here with us to listen more about this part in our life, which I think could be the absolute best part of your life. You know yourself better. You know what you like. You know what makes you feel good. You know what brings you joy. Finally, I wanted to say we need to figure out what brings us joy again. But some of us have never had joy before. So we're trying to reach that point. And I have made it there, and I want to help get you there. So that's what we'll be talking about today, kind of rebuilding after leaving this job or this relationship or whatever situation defined you, and then reinventing yourself into the person or the position or the accolades that you hope to get at this point in your life. You want to get your flowers, and sometimes you have to give yourself your flowers. Is that okay? Let's do that starting today. All right. So I used to be a television news anchor. I was a morning news anchor. So there were certain symbolic things. There are certain characteristics that went along with being a morning news anchor. You were to be perky. You were supposed to be super friendly. You were supposed to smile really big whenever the opportunity came about. All of those kinds of things. You were supposed to be easy to get along with, easy to talk to. You were supposed to have a good day every day. No one could tell how you felt about this subject or that story. You were just supposed to be a pleasant, happy, nice looking, confident news reader. So I majored in broadcast journalism, but I never really did much journalism. I didn't do the digging and getting to the bottom of the story and, I'm breaking news that I came up with myself or that someone called in a tip and told me about it. No, I started out as a weekend anchor and then moved to morning anchor. And that really didn't happen that often where we got the lead story. It happened on occasion, but it didn't really happen. We were really telling you about what happened overnight while you slept. And this is what happened. So there were a couple of stories, a couple of them that come to my mind. Of course, 9/11. That happened during the morning, during the workday. It was going on when I was in the newsroom getting actually ready for the noon newscast. We were working toward that and interviews that we had and updating stories and things like that. So that happened. Remember the DC sniper that was going around shooting people at like gas stations? They were just standing around, random people, and they were shooting them. So that person actually killed a woman in Montgomery at the ABC store, like maybe a mile away from the TV station I was working at. So it happened every now and then that we had a breaking news story that happened during those early morning hours, but it didn't happen very often in our local viewing area. So most of the stories were updated stories. There were that we had fleshed out a little bit more information about a story from the night before. But whenever it happened and however it happened, I was supposed to deliver that information to you, to the viewing audience, as pleasantly and professionally and nicely as possible. But that is not how most of us are. And it certainly isn't how I am. I am extremely opinionated, very outspoken. I had an opinion on those stories, but as my profession went, I wasn't supposed to let you know. Like you weren't supposed to know if I was a Democrat or a Republican, if I was liberal or conservative, even if I was Christian or not. That wasn't something that we were supposed to divulge during the way we delivered the news. And so that took a lot of training on my part because part of me wanted to let people know who I was. And I think an intelligent person, a person who was insightful enough and watched me enough was able to ascertain whether I was on this side of an issue or that side of an issue, if they cared to know. But it wasn't for me to tell you about it and divulge that to you, like I am this or I am that. However, there were certain things that, can't be hidden. I'm African American. I'm a woman. I remember when I got divorced, I stopped wearing my wedding ring. So people knew something was going on. I didn't come on the air and say, oh, I just got a divorce or I'm separated from my husband at that time. But they knew, they noticed after a while that I wasn't wearing my ring anymore. So those kinds of things were things that I couldn't keep from the public. But there were certain things that professionally I wasn't supposed to let you know. So I didn't like that part of my job as I got deeper into it. I wanted people to know who I was. I wanted to be who I was. I didn't want to be this caricature of a person that, came into their home every day. However, I did not take that for granted that I was maybe the only African American woman that, came into their home every day. And that I was maybe their example of what a woman or a woman of a certain age or a woman from a certain part of the country or whatever that looked like for them, that I was an example. I didn't take for granted that there were a lot of little kids out there that said, oh, she looks like my mom, or she could be my auntie, or she could be my cousin. We could be related. She's from the same, she went to the same high school or college that I went to. So I became this person that they would want to watch every day. I wanted them to feel beholden to me. I mean, that's what we wanted. That's what the leadership at my station wanted. They wanted people to feel connected to me, and they wanted me to be relatable. And so as you're talking about what makes you good at your job, that relatability was something that they measured me by. That was a metric for how good I was. So as you reinvent yourself to become what these people want you to be, whether they're the people who employ you or the people who watch you, then you kind of lose yourself. And I was lost. I was lost for years. And when I say lost, I mean, I was trying to figure out who I was toward the end of my television career. Like, who am I? If I'm not a TV news anchor, then who am I? So can you imagine having that epiphany, saying, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to do something else, not even knowing what that something else was, but having your whole identity pretty much hinging on the job that you're doing, that you're saying you don't want to do anymore, that doesn't bring you joy anymore, that doesn't make you happy anymore, that doesn't make you want to get up at 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning anymore. You're done with that. So if you're done with that, you got to be done with that image that you portrayed, that image that you put out there. And now what? Well, the now what was the part that I'm still realizing that I'm going to have to be figuring out for some time. And that is who I really and truly am. And I remember watching Fantasia, who I love. I watched her when she was in The Color Purple. And there's a song in The Color Purple. If you saw the movie, you might have seen it. Or if you were fortunate enough, as I was, to see her on Broadway, then there's a song called I'm Here. And that is when she's talking about becoming the woman that she always wanted to be. And there's a line that says, realizing who I really am. And y'all, that is a journey. That is an epic journey, a voyage that you're going to have to take if you're in a position where you've been the mom for all these years and then the kids move away. You've been in a relationship for a long time and maybe something happens, not necessarily a divorce or a separation, but say there is an illness or something that takes this husband or wife of yours away or changes them in a major way, or that you have an illness or something that changes you in a major way. All I'm saying is there will come a time where you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to be in this stage of your life. things are going to change. Relationships are going to fade. You're going to change physically. You're going to change mentally. Your beliefs may even change. So, where you live, just the geography might change. So that is the kind of thing that I want you to look at. I want you to look at that. When you look at yourself in the mirror, I want you to say, who is this person for reals? Not just like, who does this person claim to be, or who does this person want to be for somebody else, to make somebody else feel comfortable, to make somebody else feel okay with their presence. Because that's another thing. A lot of people, I think, were against me leaving my job because, that kind of helped define them too. They knew the lady on TV, or they were friends with the lady on TV. So if I'm not on TV anymore, then they're not friends with the lady on TV anymore. They're just friends with whoever this lady is now. They're friends with the lady who used to be on TV, I guess. So that was one thing, too, that I took into consideration that really wasn't my problem. That really wasn't my lane. What other people were going to think about me after this kept me in that job for probably 4 or 5 years longer than I should have been. But what I realized is the reinvention, the figuring out who I am and getting in this position where I am now and doing what I really want to do, it was so worth it. It's still hard. There are still days where I'm going to wake up and feel like, I don't have that schedule that I used to have. I don't have everything laid out for me like before. It was just for year after year after year after year, I was doing the same exact thing over and over and over again. And there is comfort in that. I'm not denying that. There is comfort in consistency. There's comfort in normalcy, whatever that looks like. But I'm telling you, in 2021, when I quit that job, with COVID and all the things, we're wearing masks, we're sheltering in place and all these things that I had never heard of. We're working from home and all that kind of stuff, door dashing and all this kind of stuff. We're having our food delivered and washing our food off before we bring it inside because we're fearful that we might get some germ that might kill us. This was killing people, and we didn't know how you get it, how you keep from getting it. It was bananas. So at that time when all of that was changing, I changed my life as well in other ways by quitting that job. So then the reinvention started. When people see me now, they say, oh my God, you don't even look the same. You've lost so much weight. And how did you do it? Like it's something miraculous that happened overnight. And I was like, do you guys not remember when people would call me big on the air? Where people would send me emails or they would comment under my pictures that how fat I was and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to the gym. I'm showing people I'm working out because I wanted people to know, hey, I'm trying. Give me a break. And then they see me, years later, because they don't see me every single day and they see me and I've made this change in my life. And they say, oh my gosh, you're so small. Girl, I have been working out for years. I've been trying to figure out what to eat for years. I have tried everything, every drug, every this, every that. I mean, short of maybe having surgery or going on a GLP-1, I have tried everything to lose weight. But what finally worked for me happened after I left that job. And I think that's because a big part of it was getting more sleep and also being able to set my own pace for the day. I wasn't able to do that when I was doing TV news. And also the stress of it all. That was a very, very, very stressful job. And you're always on. I don't think people realize that. When people are on the news, you think, oh, they're just on when they're on that 30 minutes or hour or 2 hours that they're anchoring the news or reporting the news. No. When I was at lunch, I was on the news to these people. When I was at dinner, when I was at my kids' school, whatever I was doing, I was the news lady, you see. So I could never get away from that job until I got away from that job. And I remember one of the first things that happened was I had a disagreement with a man over a parking space or something like that. But he was an attorney in town or something like that. And I remember him saying, well, I wonder what they'll say about this when I call down to the TV station. I said, I don't know what they'll say because I don't work there anymore. It felt so good. Oh, my gosh. Because so many times I would have had to go, oh, well, he's right. If he calls and complains, I could lose my job. If he calls and complains, I'm going to get reprimanded somehow. But honey, it felt so good to say that because he didn't even watch. He didn't even know that I had quit that job like a year ago. And he was like, I wonder what they'll say if I call the TV station and tell them about this. I don't care. I didn't say it like that. I had some choice words for him. And that's how I feel about my day-to-day life. I do what I want to, when I want to, how I want to. And it's good. It feels so good. So in reinventing myself, this is a part of it. This podcast is a part of it. This conversation that I have with you is a part of it because I want you to know that there is so much more out here for you. There is a huge world out there for you. And we're going to talk about some of the travels and what started me traveling the way I started traveling might surprise you. Know that there is life on the other side of whatever you're going through right now. That mundane, day to day, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to run this errand, I got to pay this bill, whatever. Just like same stuff over and over, day after day, week after week, year after year. Stop doing that to yourself. Your life could change just like that if you just change one or two things about your routine. Just don't let your life be routine. And before you know it, you're 40, you're 50, you're 60, and you're in the same place. You haven't moved. You haven't changed. You haven't grown. You haven't experienced all that you could experience. And it's okay if you haven't done it before now. Let's just change that from this day forward. Don't let fear keep you locked in that same life, locked in that same place, locked in that same relationship. If it's something that you don't feel good about anymore, doesn't bring you joy anymore, get rid of it. And I mean, that goes from a outfit you might have that doesn't fit you right anymore, that you don't wear anymore, take it to Goodwill. But put it on some site and sell it or something like that, or just donate it to somebody, a shelter or something, or give it away to one of your friends that you know likes it and would look good in it. It's just time to get rid of what does not serve you. It's time to get rid of that. So I hope this kind of helps you know that, reinvention is a real thing. It is a real thing, and it's a thing that you can do. It's not hard. It's not hard to do that. It's thoughtful. You need to think about yourself, think about where you are, and think about where you want to go, and then make a plan and execute it. I wish. So many people in my life wanted me to stay where I was, though, because that was their comfort zone. That's where they wanted me to be. That's what felt good to them. They didn't consider what felt good to me. And I was falling apart. I was falling to pieces. And they didn't even seem to realize it because they were more concerned about where I was made them feel. I remember Toni Morrison, she's one of my favorites. And she said, if somebody has to be on their knees for you to feel tall, that's a you problem. You need to fix that. So I need you to start fixing that. I need you to feel big, feel good about yourself, regardless of how somebody else feels about you. You can do this. I'm not saying it'll be easy, but I am saying it's worth it. It's been so fun talking to you guys. I hope that you like this. If you do, hit that like, subscribe, and share it. Tell somebody else about it. Tell them they need to watch this because we all could use a little joy, a little help, and a little satisfaction in our life. We can do this. Let's do it together. See you next time.
I've never traveled all alone or built a fire on my own.